So Lil Durk just dropped his new album 7220, and it's one of the most anticipated drops of the year because Lil Durk's career has only gone up since the last drop that he put out. So in today's video, we're going to be breaking down 7220, and let us know down in the comments how you guys feel about the album, and stay until the end of the video because we're going to be giving you guys our official score and thoughts on the album. So going into this, what were your expectations, man?
Oh, listen, I was expecting something cool because I was going through a couple of interviews of his, a week ago, and I was trying to understand like what type of direction this was going to be. And he had said that this was going to be a much more personal album because he feels as if he has the most fans he's ever had in his fan base at the moment. And he wanted to introduce these new fans to, where he comes from and the types of experiences that, have impacted him and where he's at in his life. And that's where I think I want to start off the review, guys, is just, the writing on the album, because I think that it's one of the strongest components, at least throughout the whole project, from what I've noticed so far. And I think that there's a strong personal touch throughout the whole project because Durk gets introspective. So example, on Started From or Head Taps, those are the first two tracks on the track list. You could already see how he's starting to talk about different things. So Started From, he takes you back to his grandmother's house and seeing the types of different things that he was going through, either if it was the gun violence or if it was the drugs and that sort of environment. And then on Head Taps, he gets into really deep subject matter as like, serving his uncle and then, seeing him pass away and how that has had an effect on his conscience. So that's what I appreciated on the album. So talk to me about some strong points that you saw throughout the album and some weak points that you saw throughout it.
Yeah, I really found the fact that he dedicated this album to his grandmother and the fact that 7220 was the address to her home. I thought that was pretty cool to get that deep and personal about it. And I think, like you said, his songwriting really showed up on this album because he gets super introspective. And I feel like that's not what people really expected, because after the whole NBA YoungBoy back and forth, I felt like a lot of people were going to expect a more aggressive Durk, more on that I would say more of that drill sound. And what we ended up getting was something that was more balanced. And I do appreciate the effort because you're not getting, songs about spinning the block and all that drill murder type of content. You're actually getting some love ballads, some more emotional cuts, and him really diving into all the pain that his life in the streets has brought him. So I love the authenticity from Durk, but in my opinion, I just feel like I liked what he was going for, but I don't think he executed that well on it in terms of some of the performances. And what really holds this album back from being solid, I would say, would be the production. I felt like it was very unvaried. I felt like I was hearing a lot of the same drum patterns, such as the kick drums, the bass, the snares. Those patterns kind of stayed stagnant throughout the entire track list, and that kind of made for a bit of a boring experience for me, to be honest with you, bro.
Okay, because this is my thing too, is that I agree with you that the production maybe lacks in the way that, the originality factor or, changing it up in a couple of instances.
How many piano beats did you hear?
Oh, dude, so many. And I heard a lot of guitar chords. But the thing is that it doesn't necessarily take away from the overall album experience that much for me, because there's still solid productions and the engineering was fantastic as well on those types of productions. I love the drum programming, but the problem was that it was stagnant. And I don't think it's that much of an issue because the track list is only 17 tracks and it has a runtime of 45 minutes. So I could understand where this becomes super dreadful if it was like an hour and 5 minutes or if it was plus 20 tracks, but he stayed within a reasonable time zone to be able to get that done. Plus, I also feel as if it was nice that he didn't saturate his project with features, because, you had features from, Summer Walker on this, you had Gunna, you had Future, and then you had Morgan Wallen. And I feel as if they also added into the overall vibe of the project and they all did a good job on this.
You saw Morgan Wallen fit in on that beat. I didn't think he complimented it that well.
On the last one, it was nice because he delivered a nice chorus, and I actually enjoyed his vocal performance. I think that it was emotional. I thought it was raw, and yes, it's, you're not getting fucking Pavarotti here.
He's talking about girls playing him. Like, it wasn't that deep, and I just feel like
I know, but
that country aesthetic.
That was the concept of the song, though. Like, that's why I appreciate it, is that it was ended up fitting into it, and it was different than anything else that I'd gotten on this album. But I want to go on to a different song. Let's go on to AHHH, because this was actually the response to NBA YoungBoy, and the whole concept of the song is that Annalie Champa had initially told Lil Durk apparently to not respond to anything and don't get into the controversy, and this goes completely against that, and that's what he used for the chorus of it. So do you feel as if more of like that fast-paced, fast-tempo production was needed throughout the project because it was provided by Southside? And I think it was actually a big standout for me throughout this whole project, just because it was super aggressive, it was super raw, and it got you into a different zone that like a no auto Durk, let's say, would get you into.
I feel like now that Durk is like really mainstream, people have a lot of different expectations because you have his core fan base that prefers that raw and aggressive drill type of energy, but you have some newer fans that are learning about Durk through his features on Laugh Now Cry Later and other big appearances, even the collab album with Lil Baby, that are expecting some more melodic cuts. But I do think that, especially on this album, he's way more in his element on songs like AHHH, on songs like Golden Child, where he has this cadence that's just breathing with so much confidence and aggression, and I feel like that's where he's really in his bag. And my favorite song on this whole album is actually Golden Child, because he comes in super confident and the wordplay is actually fire. For example, there's a bar where he has, if you got power with that Tommy, you can ghost him. So it's kind of a play on the whole Power show,
Yeah, that was
and
fire.
using the character names to have different meanings in terms of, Tommy referring to the character Tommy and also the Tommy gun. So I liked what he was trying to do there. But for me, I feel like I wanted more of that no auto Durk. You know what I mean? I didn't want that much of the auto tune, because that's where I feel like there was blemishes within the performance. For example, on a song like Keep It on the Speaker, he comes in with this country accent and it's just really bad auto tune.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
I got
Listen.
diamonds in my ear. Like, it was off. And another thing too, and there's not a lot of these, but there's some cringy bars.
Okay.
Like there's one, hold on a second.
Let's go through this. Let's see what you brought in through here, because I know you always come through with these types of bars. Usually those types of bars usually slip over my head. I don't necessarily pay too much attention to it, but
and
what
there's
did you end up catch?
there's not that many on here, but there is one that I had to shout out. Give me a second here.
But I think the writing overall was pretty solid. Like, I'll let you find your bar, but I'm just going to go on to Shoot Out on My Crib. Like, that was a solid track for me as well, because on the chorus, he actually takes you back to that whole event where he got into a shootout in his own crib and how he had to double down on his security. I found that was cool. On No Interviews, he talks about how he doesn't want to do perks anymore because of the Juice WRLD documentary. So I like that there was a focus and coherent feel to his writing throughout all of this. Instead of, trying to glorify certain things, which he still does throughout the project. There's your fair share of, let's say, spinning around the block and doing sort of things. But the main focus throughout 7220, for me, at least in the writing, was these personal touches. But do you have those bars on you?
I do have the bar. So this comes on Shout Out at My Crib. You gonna smell perks and lean when I fart. Like, bro, I'm sorry. When I hear a bar like that, it just ruins the entire song for me. Like, I can't play a song like that after hearing that much,
Yeah, I get you.
that kind of cringiness. But I mean, apart from that, you also get another one where he's talking about nutting on a chin. But there's not many instances like that kind of throw you off. So I'm happy that the writing, for the most part, was pretty intricate. I did like the fact that he got super personal. And in terms of his rapping performance, like I said, I thought the cadences and flows were pretty cool. But there are times where I feel like he rushes his flows and tries to fit in too many words per bar. And I feel like that kind of creates a bit of an awkward rhythm within his rapping. But at the end of the day, I feel like this was a step up. I do like the attempt. Like I said, the execution wasn't really there for me. But I like the fact that he tried to give us, some more melodic stuff. But that being said, when you're looking at those melodic and love ballad type songs, what has to win you over is the catchiness of the hooks. And I feel like nothing really stuck with me after a couple of listens. So we'll have to see how it ages, but I thought it was a pretty good effort. And in terms of the features, Gunna would be my favorite. I thought that he really slid on that.
Gunna slid. How about Future? How did you like Future on this song?
Low energy.
Low energy on this? I found that was a good performance. I didn't think it was anything crazy. I don't think it was mid, because like I've heard a lot worse, Future features.
But lately,
like,
he hasn't been like in his bag like that, bro.
I know, but I think he's trying out a different type of melodic style within these types of tracks. And like, this was a melodic though. This was just more like calm, neutral sort of Future, but you always want to get something more aggressive from Future, because he rides dark production super well. And another standout for me, by the way, was Summer Walker. She did a fantastic job on this album.
Great vocals.
I loved her vocals on here, and I love the way she harmonized, and she added a nice flavor to the overall track list. I want to actually go on to Federal Nightmares, because this was a really cool song for me, because the writing's really nice, because what Durk's trying to do here is that he's trying to show you all the stresses and everything that comes with, being in the life, but looking at it from such a real perspective. So on the first one, like just talking about like delete my iCloud if they really on me, and then talking about like going to trial and talking about all these types of different things that, people don't usually open up about, let's say within their music, especially if they have a certain type of persona. And that's what I appreciated from Durk here, is that he didn't necessarily have to go for the gloating. He didn't go for too much aggression on this. It was just more realistic writing that I enjoyed. And I got to ask you another thing. How did you like the pacing of the album? Because as I said, it's not your traditional trap album or drill album where there's going to be like 25 songs, runs you an hour, 4-minute tracks. There's not a single track that goes over 3 minutes, like 3 minutes and a half is like
I think
the
there's
max.
one that's maybe 4 minutes, but there's not many.
From what I saw on Apple Music, most of the tracks, hold on, I have it in front of here.
Like 2 minutes and a half, around that range,
Yeah,
right?
Honestly, no, there's not a single song that goes into the 4-minute range. The most I've seen on here is, I believe, 3 minutes and 16 from what I'm seeing on this track list. Yeah, 3 minutes 16 plus 17 songs, 45 minutes. So do you think more trap and drill artists should start using this formula? Because I found this a much more enjoyable listen than a lot of trap or drill records that I'd gotten in the past because they feel overdragged, they feel a bit useless. And I'm not saying this is the perfect length. There's obviously some trimming.
There's filler.
There's obviously filler on this, but it's much better than like getting those 20 plus tracks on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the pacing was decent, but again, what really had me have a hard time getting through those listens was the fact that the production got so repetitive. I mean, even when you look at, let's say, some of the beats that had these electric guitar chords, I felt like they were all from the same sample pack. I felt like there was no diversification, even within the instruments that were being used within the production. And I just feel like that held Durk back, because if that production maybe was more soulful and had more of a glamorous type of feel, I feel like that would have complemented his sound a bit more. So that's what kind of made it drag a little bit. But I do like the fact that it was 17 songs, wasn't too long of a track list, and the features didn't overstay their welcome. They kind of just supported Durk instead of, take the limelight away from him. So let me ask you this: how do you see this actually sticking into your rotation?
Listen, I think it's a good album. Like, I'm going through this track list, and I mean, I have a couple of standouts for me. I think that I'm obviously not going to take all 17, but I need to give this time. I want to go back into it because, to be honest with you, like, I have to go through all of Durk's material again to be really, honest with this engagement that I have on 7220. And I also think that it's 45 minutes, it's 17 songs. Like, I could do that. That's digestible for me. When it starts getting too much, then it takes away from the replay value because it doesn't necessarily attract me back. Plus, the writing is really good on this. Like, I want to go back and I want to go through those personal anecdotes again. I want to see what he's talking about. And I have no auto Durk. I have all of those songs where he's going absolutely crazy. On this, it was nice because it's sort of it's sort of a movie of his past and how that's affected him now. So it's interesting. Like, I like the ties in together, and I do feel as if the writing could have been a bit better executed. But you're not going to get a Kendrick Lamar album. That's another thing. You have to expect.
I don't think anybody expected that.
And I think that's what's good about it is that for the lane that Durk's in, this was a major step up as far as the writing goes. So listen, I'm going to give my overall rating because Lou has a different one. I'm going to go good on the overall rating for me because, listen, I think that the track list was well calculated. 17 songs, 45 minutes. It's not a drag. The features, as you said, did not, overstay because they added to the track list rather than, carried. And that's a big problem with me in trap records recently. And we did a video on his trap music dying, and that's what we spoke about was how feature lists now in trap albums or drill albums will be just flooded with all kinds of different people just to be able to get an appeal out. But on this, it was nice because there was a fair share of solo projects. Where I find this project falls flat is definitely within the soundscape because you're going to get those same guitar chords, you're going to get the same piano keys. The drum patterns are way too similar, but is it a major knock for me where I have to give it a mid rating? I don't think so. And overall, I think that this will stick somewhat through my rotation. I'm going to have to give it more of a chance. So how about you? How are you feeling with the overall rating?
My overall rating is going to be mid, and it's kind of on the borderline between mid and good because I really love what he tried going for here. I thought the attempt was really, well calculated because he tried having maybe his most balanced album yet because you get those more street songs where he's going into the pain that his life in the streets have brought him, and those personal anecdotes about him being in a cell wishing that he could be at home with his kids, or him grieving over the losses of King Von and other people in his family that he's lost. I love getting that emotion from Durk. I thought that it was really vulnerable to see him get into that space, but I just think that a lot of his performances do fall flat. I feel like when he goes into that melodic bag, the hooks aren't catchy. I think that his singing at times is off key, and that really brought down my enjoyment of it. But my biggest flaw would have to be the production. I think that it's very repetitive. I think it's unvaried. There's no diversity within it, and maybe that's a case of having a lot of different producers working on it. Maybe he needs to hone in with one producer to really get a nice coherent sound. But at the end of the day, I liked what he tried going for here. I like that he kind of took you back and reintroduced his story, taking you back to Englewood, Chicago, and where he grew up and how he became the man that he was. So I liked all of that. I liked some of the love ballads where he's showing love to India and his family as well. So overall, I don't see it sticking that much in my rotation just because, again, production fell flat. But there's a couple of songs on here, like, for example, Golden Child, AHHH, Head Taps, I would say Blocklist. Like, there's a couple that I might revisit, but as an album as a whole, I don't see there being that much value. And in comparison to the rest of the projects that we got this year, I could see it being a bit forgettable. And for that reason, I gotta go mid.
All right, guys. So listen, that's our overall explanation. But let us know how you guys feel in the comment section, and let us know how you feel about, let's say, the production or the writing on this album. Like, get into depth with us and do this review with us, because we always love seeing your opinions, and let us know where we went wrong on this, because we're always looking for feedback. So thank you guys so much for coming through today. It's always a pleasure doing content for you guys, and we're also doing live album reactions on a weekly basis to the hottest drops in the industry. This week we ended up doing Tana Talk 4, and we just released our album review to that. So if you guys want to check it out, it is currently on the channel. Guys, thank you so much for coming in today, and we'll catch you on the next one.